see there are reports out there that Jason Kelce told his teammates he's retiring.
Whoa.
I mean, it certainly looked like it last night towards the end of that game. He didn't look like a guy whose team had just been eliminated. He looked like a guy whose career was ending on the sidelines.
Man, he's still so good. He's still so good.
Yeah.
He's walking away from the game right now. Jason Kelce, one of the best, if not the best centers in the game. Hall of Famer? I think so.
Oh, yeah. They were going through like how many of those Eagles players have played together for as long as they have, and that in itself is almost unheard of in today's NFL. So we'll get back into the NFC in a little bit, but this is a good idea, I think. You like it because you came up with it. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, I did. I got a little cocky right there, Luke, when I said that.
Well, so the
tongue-in-cheek, of course.
The idea is, okay, the Cardinals aren't in it, but from a Cardinals perspective, what could you take from each of these playoffs games? What lesson maybe did you learn for when you are eventually a playoff team?
Yeah, like the Browns and the Texans.
It is a good idea.
What could you take away and apply to the Arizona Cardinals right there?
Wait, before we jump into this, though, I don't want to start controversy, and she's not here, so maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
Wasn't this Aaron's idea last week, and you were like, no, we're waiting until next week on that, and then you just took it as your own?
No, wait a minute, are you kidding me?
I think this
was
her idea.
Why are you saying that? Because if suddenly Mel doesn't show up to work because she needs Kleenex or something like that?
No, but I do think this was actually her idea.
Hey, Mel, walk through it.
Oh, boy.
I mean,
goodness.
I'm just saying, here's a box of Kleenex. And I know the morning show got everybody sick here at the station. We all understand that. Here's a box of Kleenex. Walk through it.
You know what? I'm just going to, as her legal counsel today, this is what she'd say if you said, here's a box of Kleenex, walk through it.
Yeah.
She'd say, Wolf, last time you had a box of Kleenex, you didn't know how to open it, and I had to open it for you.
Okay. All right. That's being...
That did happen.
No,
I watched it. Yes, it did. You had it in the prep room and you couldn't get it open. And she's like, here. Luke, and she pulled one.
I don't remember that selectively, granted, but I don't remember that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, honestly, we all need to just suck it up, don't we?
If you challenge her to do that, she'll be here for the 1 o'clock hour. So hopefully she's not listening.
Hey, kid, get better. Okay, Mel, we need you. Get better. Okay, what were we talking about?
And also, Aaron, I recognize this was your idea that Wolf's stealing as his own since you're not here.
Can I just say this? One game played, the Browns and the Texans. Can the Cardinals find a fullback? That's the takeaway. Can the Cardinals find a fullback? The number one personnel group and rundown situation for the Houston Texans was 21 personnel. And, by the way, they also used 22, which is 2 backs and 2 tight ends. 21 personnel, 2 backs with a fullback. Thank you, Andrew Beck. Andrew Beck, the fullback, and 1 tight end in 21 personnel. And I am laughing out loud because that's not my takeaway.
I'm still trying to get past fullback.
Yeah, that fullback.
Everything you said after that, I don't even know what to believe.
No, you know what my number one takeaway based on that was? I was being facetious right there when I said that.
I was going to let you go.
Although it was true. Everything was true. 21 personnel led the Houston Texans. Explosives win games in today's NFL. You hear JG talking about this all the time, and it's the truth. Explosives win games. They're critical, and you need explosive players to execute this axiom. You need explosive players. Isn't that right, Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I got 2 takeaways for this for the Cardinals, and one of them is not about fullbacks, but the other one is
fullback.
It's fullback. One is that pick that you're getting from Houston. Just go ahead and assume that's going to be 32nd until we see otherwise, because C.J. Stroud is just driving the point home. But the other one, and I somebody made me aware of this like an hour before the game. So Cleveland's defense has been really good all year, would you say, like in terms of allowing points? It's been pretty good. Their defense at home this season, they allowed 13.9 points per game. That's best in the NFL.
Really good.
Their defense on the road, they averaged 31.3 points per game.
Wow.
That's the worst in the NFL.
Absolutely stunning.
So
what are you doing?
The lesson to me is, as you build this Cardinals defense, and I don't know exactly how you do this, but as you do it, how about you build one that is good home and road? Because Cleveland's bad road defense certainly showed up in a game where they gave up 45 with their season on the line.
Just think about this. I want to say this quickly, too. I'm not ignoring what you just said, Luke. But
you don't have to. It
for me,
speaks for
again,
itself.
explosives win games. C.J. Stroud had passes of 76 yards and 37 yards that resulted in touchdowns. Those are explosive plays right there. The 2 pick sixes by the Texans as well. 82 and 36. Explosive plays defensively.
The other
you don't
way.
really think of that.
Yeah.
Going the other way right there. They also had 5 other explosive run pass plays that didn't score in this game. 5. You're talking about plays of over 25 yards. Okay, now plays of 20 or more, that's considered an explosive in today's NFL. But 25 or more, they had 5. 9 times they had big plays. 9 was the number when you add in the 2 touchdowns and you add in the 2 pick sixes with those 5 other plays. Are you kidding me? 9 explosive plays. 4 of those plays resulting in touchdowns. They ran 44 plays and scored 45 points. Oh, my goodness, man. Explosives matter.
We're not going to get to every game here in this segment, so I'm going to throw one more out there. When you're playing Houston, cover Nico Collins. How's that for a lesson?
Yeah,
371 receiving yards in his last 3 games.
Oh, my goodness. Just incredible.
Yeah.
So what's your other play? The Chiefs game? You want to
let's
look
do
at
the
that?
Chiefs one.
Okay.
Mine for this one is simple, so I'll throw it out there. Make sure, again, this is sort of like my thought there of, be like if you've got Cleveland's defense, you want a defense that can perform on the road and at home. As you build your playoff team, how about you make sure you're ready to play in the cold? And I'm not saying Miami didn't do everything they could, and they obviously play in a very warm weather atmosphere in general. And they were even showing shots of Miami. Maybe it was highlights afterwards. They were showing shots of Miami, and it still looks like it's summer in Miami. It's like here, right? They looked out of place in that game, and the Chiefs took advantage.
Yeah, for me right now, the biggest takeaway I had from the Chiefs-Dolphins, hope your quarterback can play in cold weather games, Basinonians. Hope that your quarterback doesn't look like Tua Tagovailoa. And I can tell you right now, Kyler Murray has done really well in the few cold weather games that we've seen him play. That's the encouraging thing about this.
That is true, actually.
Chicago 2021, he had a quarterback rating of 136.9, and that was a victory. Chicago 2023, it was a loss, but he had a quarterback rating of 97.5. Pittsburgh 2023, a win. He had a quarterback rating of 90, but the Cards ran the ball and were really intentional about running the ball, and that was some miserable weather because of the wind, of course, and the cold rain. Philadelphia, 2024, had a quarterback rating in a win of 116.7. So far.
So far, so
looks
good.
Pretty good right now.
Yeah, and that game, too. I mean, I know the Chiefs ultimately pulled away in the 4th, and they ended up winning by 19. But, Miami all season, they put up 70 in a game. That actually happened this year. Miami, it felt like at any time could just put up 45. You don't need to put up 45. They didn't need to do that. Tua's passer rating in the game was 63.9, and honestly, that seems high because some of his worst passes just ended up going for incompletions. But, yeah, I mean, if he just has a game against the Chiefs over the weekend like Kyler had, I don't know, against the Bears, let's say, or in that Pittsburgh game, they have a real shot of winning that game.
Yeah, and the last takeaway from the AFC that I think the Arizona Cardinals could apply from that game, the Steelers-Bills game, quarterbacks win. In today's NFL,
mobile quarterbacks
win.
I'll just add that.
I'm just making the assumption.
Yeah.
He's going to be a dual-threat quarterback.
Well, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that could rip off a 52-yard touchdown run, but the Cardinals do have one. I mean, what is that? That's Justin Fields. That's Lamar. It's obviously Josh Allen because he just did it. That's Kyler Murray, and there's maybe one or two other ones out there. And we're through Super Wild Card weekends. Wolf, where do you rank this weekend in terms of your favorite weekends of football?
Yeah, this past weekend
Yes.
is one of my favorite weekends of the year. The Super Wild Card weekend, I absolutely love it. The only thing better is this weekend coming up right now. Yes, where you have the number one seeds. They're actually playing out there. Some of the clutter, some of the chaff, so to speak, has been cleared out. And this first round, this first weekend of the playoffs, although I love it, Super Wild Card weekend, I love it. This weekend coming up is my favorite.
I think I'm with you. I mean, mainly because of what you just said of you expect these games coming up to be better. Now, we'll see. Right? There's no guarantees, I guess, but I would go each of these and actually probably week one of the season over the Super Bowl. I really, because the Super Bowl is just one game and it's great and everything, but if that's a bad game, then that's it. Plus, it always has the thought of the season over being
and plus
after.
Two, it's just one game. I know it's a Super Bowl and it's awesome and it's the pinnacle of the sport, yet it's just one game. So to me, you get no games, especially now that the Pro Bowl, that whatever they're doing with the Pro Bowl, they've butchered that. It's just ridiculous. But you get no games, of course. And then you get the Super Bowl, and for me,
and you get 7 months of nothing.
You get 7 months of nothing, and there's going to be a whole lot of something this weekend.
All right, so we were doing this earlier. What can the Cardinals learn from some of these games? What do you want the Cardinals? What characteristics do you want them to embody from some of these teams? We went through the AFC. We can start in the NFC, Wolf, and at the game last night for the NFC. And I would say maybe they should almost flip this around. Maybe Philadelphia should have learned something from the Cardinals a couple years ago of when you're 10-2, or in Philly's case 10-1. That's not the end of the season, because the Eagles won one game after going 10-1. And they were never even really in the game last night.
Yeah, what can the Arizona Cardinals take away from the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buccaneers game? One thing, understand that the game of football is played by human beings. And human beings have a body, a soul, and a spirit. And if all three are not aligned correctly, you're going to go down, Luke. And the Philadelphia Eagles went down hard. You tell me what's going on inside that locker room.
So 10-1, but I'm just going to read off some of the teams they beat too, okay? This is not like some team that was just beating the Jets over and over again. In fact, they lost to the Jets. 10-1 with wins over Minnesota very early when Minnesota was at full strength. They handled Tampa, who they just got knocked out of the playoffs by last night. The Rams, they beat Miami. They beat Dallas, Kansas City, and Buffalo in back-to-back-to-back games. Okay, I'm not giving you every game. I'm leaving out the wins over the Commanders, basically, and the Patriots. But there was a stretch where they beat the Cowboys, bye week, Chiefs, Bills. And after they beat the Bills, they won one game. That was November 26th. They won one game after that.
Culture matters. This is the reason why I bring up human beings and understanding that human beings play the game of football. Culture matters. This was a culture collapse by the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know specifically what it was. I'm sure at some point in time we're going to find out. We're going to hear it. But this was a cultural collapse. When you think about it right now, Nick Sirianni, I don't think he should lose his job. I don't think he should be fired. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
That's crazy.
Because of how much of a cultural collapse this was. Against the Buccaneers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just here to tell you right now, I love Todd Bowles. I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love the competitor of Baker Mayfield. I love that. But they are no juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't know how they're going to have any real shot against Detroit, but maybe I'll be wrong.
Yeah, but we saw this as well. We saw this at the end of the season right here, the Philadelphia Eagles and the collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw it up front and personal, did we not? We saw it with the Arizona Cardinals beating them. What was the score to that? 35-31, was that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Ron Wolfley remembering live on the air. But this is 10-1. and you lose 5 of your last 6 games, not counting yesterday, that is a collapse. Very similar to the Arizona Cardinals when they were 10-2.
Yeah, and a lot of them weren't competitive, right? So they lost to the Niners 42-19, but everybody kind of wrote that off. Hey, it's the Niners, okay? Then they lost to Dallas 33-13, and you were still kind of like, all right,
it was Dallas.
It was Dallas, and Philly had played like a bunch of games a lot closer together, and like they were playing teams that were coming off bye weeks or had breaks. There's like weird schedule excuse in there. Then they lost to Seattle, and they couldn't stop Drew Lock at the end of a game on Monday night, and that was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Then they barely beat the Giants, lost to Arizona, then lost to the Giants 27-10, and lost to Tampa 32-9.
Yeah.
That's not a team that lost a couple games. That's a team that stopped being the same team.
So I agree with everything you just said. Yeah, absolutely. A cultural collapse. But looking at the other games, what would you say the Arizona Cardinals could take away from the Packers-Cowboys game? What comes to mind on that one?
Well, I mean, it's sort of similar to what I was saying earlier with Cleveland, how they play great defense at home and not so good on the road. Dallas is a different team as far as home or road, but the problem is the good team was the home team,
yeah,
and they didn't show up for their game yesterday. So I don't really want the Cardinals to learn anything from Dallas.
Yeah, I would say this right now. Don't be feeling yourself going into a playoff game. Nobody is ever going to be able to convince me that the Dallas Cowboys didn't think that they were going to go out there and hammer the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, this is how dangerous this stuff is. How you start matters, and the numbers were staggering. The Cowboys' defense looked like a shell of themselves. And Dak Prescott threw for over 400 yards and played poorly.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute.
Well, because most of it was in the second half, too. But, yeah, he was throwing to the other team for a little bit. Yeah, no, Dak wasn't good. It's not just Mike McCarthy. The defense was bad, too.
Jordan Love had a rating of 157.2, and the Packers ran the ball for 143 yards. The Packers went out there and competed. The Cowboys thought they were going to win.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.